Days after TNT expressed its intention to match Amazon Prime Video's offer for the NBA's broadcasting rights, the league decided to move forward with the latter's offer, officially ending TNT's 35-year run as an NBA partner. Warner Bros. Discovery's most recent proposal did not match the terms of Amazon Prime Video's offer and, therefore, we have entered into a long-term agreement with Amazon, the NBA said in a statement. TNT responded, saying it did match one of the NBA's 3 media rights packages, specifically the one earmarked for Amazon Prime for $1.8 billion per year, and the NBA had grossly misinterpreted their contractual rights with respect to the 2025-26 season and beyond. We have matched the Amazon offer, as we have a contractual right to do, and do not believe the NBA can reject it. In doing so, they are rejecting the many fans who continue to show their unwavering support for our best-in-class coverage, delivered through the full combined reach of WBD's video-first distribution platforms including TNT, home to our 4-decade partnership with the league, and Max, our leading streaming service. Warner Bros. Discovery said in a statement. To make matters worse, the Amazon deal reportedly has a poison pill, whereupon the first 3 years of the deal, almost $6 billion will be paid up front and be placed in escrow. WBD and TBS then sued the league on July 26, asserting that they exercised their matching rights by accepting the offer that the NBA was willing to extend to Amazon. The NBA then asked the courts to dismiss WBD's lawsuit as it does not have the right to match Amazon's offer since the streaming service intends to broadcast games over the internet via a subscription video-on-demand service, while WBD's rights were only for linear TV. According to the league, Warner Bros. Discovery doesn't hold legal matching rights to the new media deal as it does not believe WBD's rights extend to an all-streaming package, citing a language from the original matching provision that states that the existing media partner can exercise matching rights only via the specific form of combined audio and video distribution. It means that if the specific form of combined audio and video distribution is internet distribution, a matching incumbent may not exercise such games rights via television distribution. The league said that if WBD and TBS wanted to match a package for linear TV, it should have matched the more expensive rights that NBC got, but the company elected not to do so. The NBA's final agreement with NBC is worth about $2.5 billion a year, more than double what Warner Bros. Pays under its existing deal. Instead, Warner Bros. Discovery attempted to save billions of dollars by combining Amazon's lower-priced package, which is exclusive to streaming, with the linear television rights that were granted to NBC. Over the last few months, the NBA has negotiated a new media rights deal with ESPN, Disney, NBC, and Amazon, with ESPN reportedly paying $2.6 billion annually, while NBC and Amazon will pay $2.5 billion and $1.8 billion, respectively. The deal also introduces a more prominent streaming service to the league, especially as cable usage continues to decline and younger viewers preferring to watch games mostly through digital channels. The annual amount of the NBA's new TV deal almost triples the amount of the current one, which started in 2015 and will end after the 2024-25 season. The new contract will kick in starting the 2025-26 season and will end in 2036-37. The NBA announced the signing of the new media agreements, totaling $76 billion for 11 years, last July 24. After becoming the odd man out of the NBA broadcast rights, WBD said that they plan to rebrand the Emmy Award-winning show Inside the NBA, starring Ernie Johnson, Charles Barkley, Kenny the Jet Smith, and Shaquille O'Neal, to talk about other sports. They are betting that the show and the crew were entertaining and versatile enough to be worth a shot. But it wouldn't be as impactful without the NBA, as O'Neal and Barkley were considered royalties of the league and are deeply associated with the NBA. The show thrived with the NBA being at the center of it, and it would be awkward and less interesting to see them talking about other leagues and sports without the NBA at the core. WBD's TNT has carried the NBA for nearly 40 years and is home to Inside the NBA. It has a stellar history and has many memorable moments that captivated its audience through the years. It started in 1989, the same year TNT began broadcasting NBA games. Johnson became the show's first permanent host the following year, while Smith and Barkley joined him in 1998 and 2000 respectively. O'Neal was the last to join in 2011 following his retirement in the same year. Notable former analysts included Magic Johnson, Reggie Miller, and Chris Webber. TNT rebranded its Tuesday postgame show as NBA on TNT Postgame Show with Adam Lefkoe as host and O'Neal, Candace Parker, and Dwayne Wade as analysts. The show's segments that became famous among fans were Shaq the Fool, a blooper segment that was started by O'Neal when he joined the show, EJ's Neato Stat of the Night, the show's traditional ending segment, Who He Play For, a start of the season customary game where Barkley is challenged to name the new team of NBA journeymen, and Gone Fishing, the legendary segment which is famous for doctoring players' photos on fishing boats after they've been eliminated in the playoffs. The quartet of Johnson, Smith, Barkley, and O'Neal recently signed multi-year extensions in 2022, signaling WBD's intent to remain among the league's TV partners in the next rights package. But WBD's intent was in stark contrast with the statement given by its chief executive, David Zaslav, during a 2022 Wall Street conference declaring, "We don't have to have the NBA." The penny-pinching boss of Warner Brothers Discovery suggested during the conference that if there is a deal to be done with the NBA, it should be a deal for the future, not in the past. This obviously zinged the ears of Commissioner Adam Silver and NBA executives. League commissioners don't want to hear league partners doubting their value and crying poor when contract time comes. They want to be courted, flattered, and feel that they are their business partner's number one priority. Once Zaslav uttered those words, NBC and Prime smelled blood and moved in for the kill. By letting its window to secure an extension slip away, WBD provided a strategic opening for both NBC and Prime Video. Meanwhile, ESPN maintained its 12-year pole position as the NBA's lead media partner with their aggressive negotiating strategy. ESPN chairman Jimmy Pitaro and his number 2 Burke Magnus aggressively courted the NBA with an always-be-closing approach. Just like in 2014 when the league and the network started talking about renewal more than a year before the exclusive negotiating window kicked in, top ESPN executives had a directive from Disney chairman Bob Iger to make a deal as soon as possible. Because of that, ESPN Disney got a handshake agreement done inside the exclusive negotiating window. WBD was in trouble the moment Amazon and NBC expressed interest. Adam Silver's job is to maximize the audience for his sport and the income of his team owners. Most of his games currently air on cable, which is a business in decline. He wants to shift them to broadcast TV, which can still deliver on a huge scale, and streaming, which is the future. Comcast, which is the parent company of NBC, and Amazon are wealthier, more stable partners than Turner, which has changed owners multiple times in the last decade. The two also generate 3 or more times as much revenue as WBD and have billions more in cash on their balance sheet. Despite all of these, there was still a world in which Zaslav and Warner Brothers could have held onto the NBA rights without a bidding war. The league entered talks with WBD asking for $2.3 billion a year. Zaslav, who is famously known in industry circles as a cheapskate, who has fired thousands of employees and has scrapped projects that were already finished, topped out at around $2.1 billion. The NBA got up from the table and walked right straight into the arms of NBC and Amazon. Despite his on-air jokes, Charles Barkley is fully aware of what's going on with TNT's precarious situation as a league partner. Barkley knew that TNT was in a delicate position after the NBA rights became available to the highest bidders. He noted that it was the first time that TNT did not renew with the NBA during its exclusive negotiating window. During another interview with the Dan Patrick Show, an angry Barkley lambasted his bosses who clearly screwed up the negotiations before they even began.
How did you guys screw it up? How did TNT mess this up?
Well, I think the first thing is, they came out and said we didn't need the NBA. So I think that probably pissed Adam off. I don't know that, but I'm saying like, you don't, because when we merged, that's the first thing our boss said. We don't need the NBA. Well, he don't need it, but the rest of the people, me, Kenny, Shaq, and Ernie, and the people who work there, we need it. We got the best studio show. And it's so funny, we just won the best studio show, but these fools turned us from Inglenook and Opus into damn Boone's Farm and Ripple. It's crazy.
Zaslav's statement most definitely pissed Adam Silver off as evidence of how the conclusion of these negotiations went. WBD failed to utilize what could have been its greatest PR weapon: Barkley, O'Neal, Smith, and Johnson. WBD should have had its inside the NBA's iconic crew singing the praises of TNT and its huge contributions to the league's popularity in public. Instead, they left the four in the dark.
What's the future of the show?
We don't know.
What's the future of the show? Where's it stand?
Well, I don't know.
Barkley said he saw Zaslav during WBD's Upfront in New York, where he and O'Neal both made cameos, but he never discussed or even mentioned anything about the status of the NBA negotiations. I saw him at the Upfronts. He said hello and that was it. I thought he should have said something to us when he had us there, but he didn't. WBD TNT's Bleacher Report and House of Highlights tried to launch a social media campaign designed to pluck the heartstrings of fans and keep the NBA on TNT, but it was too little too late. The NBA already announced publicly that ESPN, NBC, and Prime were in, and TNT was out after next season. The loss of the NBA rights is a big blow for Warner Brothers, as it is about to introduce a sports-related streaming service in a joint venture with Disney and Fox, and is working on a paid sports tier for HBO Max, its very own streaming service. Meanwhile, TNT generates about $2.5 billion in fees from pay-TV operators and $700 million in advertising sales, most of it coming from its NBA coverage. Needless to say, the NBA is Warner Brothers Discovery's most valuable sports property, and Zaslav bungled the deal big time. Now WBD Discovery is scrambling and throwing a Hail Mary to retain the NBA by insisting it's matching rights and taking the league to court. But as Barkley notes, they may have screwed these negotiations up beyond repair. WBD should have been more proactive, and Zaslav's too cool for school negotiating tactic severely backfired. He foolishly thought he had leverage over the NBA, but he does not. He tried to coolly play poker with the league, but ended up misreading his hand.